We'll light the light. There we go. Hey, we're live on the air. Around the Hub will be starting in just a second. I got to get our good friends over there at WWN Tunes going to hit and record. All right. So here we go. Last episode of Around the Hub starts now.
The following is a WDWN Tunes original program.
WDWNT and WDWN Tunes is proud to bring to you the last ever WDWN Tunes original program. This is Around the Hub. 4 panelists from around the WDWNT family come here to see who is better in the sport of competitive Disney banter. Points are awarded for well thought out ideas and points are deducted at the whim of the host. The panelist with the most points continues on in each round, with the panelist with the lowest score being sent plummeting into the pit of despair. The person with the most points at the end of the game wins 30 seconds of an uninterrupted meet and greet to talk about whatever Disney topic they would like. Our panel for tonight's last episode. Please welcome Alicia Kaiser.
Hello, everyone.
He's a new dad. It is Ron Diana.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
I would say he's an old dad, but he might get offended. This is David Smith.
No offense taken. Hey, everyone.
And our foremost connoisseur of every Disney food imaginable, it is Tyler Mann.
I love food!
Welcome to the final episode of Around the Hub. We are your source for competitive Disney banter and witty repartee. The game is played by our 4 knowledgeable panelists, going through 3 rounds of topics all around the Disney company. You've met the panel. You know the rules. Now let's play Around the Hub. Welcome to Around the Hub. I'm your host, Patrick Hackett. I forgot to intro myself. As I'm sure you all know by now, our first round on Around the Hub is split into 2 segments, the Rope Drop and Keys to the Kingdom. In Rope Drop, we focus on 2 of the bigger stories of the past couple weeks, and in Keys to the Kingdom, we take a quick tour of the news all around the entire Disney company. Tonight in Rope Drop, we'll be discussing hard ticket events, the after hours, the VIP events, those kind of things, and the new attraction at Hollywood Studios, Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy. Alicia, I think I have the ones that have not been canceled yet. The Fireworks Party, Disney Villains, I hate this one so much, VIP pass holders at Typhoon Lagoon, Soundsational Dining, Harambe Dining, and so much more. What is most likely to get your Disney dollars?
It was a tough pick for me between Halloween Fireworks Party and Disney Villains. I do say that I would spend my money on Halloween fireworks, not Hollywood fireworks. I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. I love the dessert parties at Magic Kingdom. I've done the Happily Ever After one, and I think that it's really well done, and you get a really nice view of the castle. Combine that with the fact that we're probably going to get a brand new fireworks show this year for Not So Scary, kind of makes me say I'm all in on the Halloween fireworks.
Very good. And yeah, those Halloween fireworks are some of the absolute best around. Moving over to you, Ron. Is Disney participating in class warfare?
I'm torn on this one. I think most of these don't really take away anything from the day guests. I think the after hours have begun to seem like they've eroded the normal extra magic hours, but those were eroding on their own. I don't think it's really a class warfare. I think it's more warfare against us, the more experienced and the people who know the parks, because everything they've tried to monetize has taken away our advantages from knowing the parks and knowing what we're doing. That's where I think they kind of just look at what people are doing as vlogs or on Twitter and seeing what's popular there, and then they go on. I don't think they're taking anything away yet too much. I mean, there's some premium viewing locations and things like that. but they're not ever been the best viewing locations that they've taken for a lot of these. So I think that definitely takes those, even though those are the ones that run at the same time.
Yeah, David, you can get on in there. Go ahead.
So I partially agree with Ron in that I don't think they're deliberately trying to create a class warfare, although it wouldn't surprise me. But I do think that they are starting to create a stratification of guest experience. If you look at what they're doing with their Crown collection, where they've kind of brought everything together, all their premium services under a single umbrella, they are really trying to cater to the very high income, the people that are willing to spend a huge amount of money for their vacations, and they're giving them such a better guest experience than they are the normal guest. And as much as they want to reference what Walt Disney did, I don't think that's exactly what Walt Disney intended when he built the parks.
Very well said. Tyler, did you have something to add?
No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. We think I'm moving to you. I'm scrolling down. We are. Tyler, are you sensing these events are coming to a head? Are they going to be finished, or will Disney continue to add on wherever they can?
If the money keeps coming, they will. There's always going to be a higher income family or somebody who's been saving up, and so many people visit the parks that there's always going to be a group of people who will pay extra for that kind of stuff. So I think they're going to keep going with as many weird ideas as they can. And, some of them do sound good. So
yeah, I think there's definitely some good ideas in there. Well said, sir. Let me just find my spot. Here we go. David, what is the appeal of these events? Is it the low crowds, the specialty food, something else?
The easy answer is that it's different for each person. But I honestly think the real appeal is all about comfort. Whether you're doing a dining package where you don't have to fight the crowds to get a prime viewing spot, or you're doing a late hours event or an after hours event where you can be inside a park that has several thousand rather than tens of thousands in it, I think it's all about being able to get the most value for the time that you're in the park. And I think that's what appeals to people. And having done a couple of them, I understand that. And I can understand also why the prices continue to go up. I don't agree with it, but there is an appeal to being able to walk down Main Street and not have 2,000 people directly around you and have open space as you're doing it.
You heard David, like Leanne Rimes. They're all about value. Ron, go ahead.
Yeah, I think part of it is also just a huge part of this whole fear of missing out culture and social media culture. I think some of these are just being done just to say they've done them as some sort of exclusive event, as much as people really wanting to do them. I think, yes, there's definitely an appeal to a lot of the food and the exclusivity, but I think just as much as people want to go, hey, look what I got to do and you didn't.
Yeah, I think that's very valid. The Instagram lifestyle that we're kind of living in now. Ron, are these the only ways to experience low crowds?
They're getting there. I mean, there are still some good days, and they're all weekdays now. There's no good weekends anymore.
Nope.
I think you can still get a few good weekdays. I don't think it's any coincidence that Galaxy's Edge is opening before the least busy week of the year. I think they just figured out a way to throw that in there, at least for this year, to gain that crowds. Because I went the week after Labor Day last year, and on like Thursday and Friday, things were still kind of walk-ons. You get to Saturday and Sunday, they got a little busy, but it was still, some of the least busy crowds I've seen in the last, 9 years since I've started going again.
Yeah. So, there goes my screen. Tyler, would you specifically plan a trip around one of these events?
If I lived closer to Florida, then yeah. Coming from Toronto, it's like I only go, like maybe once a year, once every 2 years or so. There's no way that a $100 event happening for a couple hours is going to draw me completely in. That being said, if it was like Kingdom Hearts or Gravity Falls themed or something, if it was something enticing like that, then I'm absolutely probably going to go for like a day or two. But if it's just something like a dining package or just like some fireworks, sorry, not to diminish a fireworks show, but a fireworks show, then no, it's not going to be able to drag me all the way from Toronto to Florida just for that.
You know what Tyler is making the trek for? Stage 89. Make sure you sign up, register for that. A ton of great events. David, what is missing from these add-on offerings?
So I think the first thing that's missing is common sense around the pricing. I think they've kind of maxed themselves out on the high price point, and they offer nothing for the low price or the medium price points for these events, or even the type of events. So we're seeing events get canceled, most likely because of lack of people purchasing them, because I think they've figured out what the ceiling is. And I don't know whether that was a concerted effort to find out what the ceiling is and then start modifying around that, or if they're just going crazy and trying to price it as high as possible. The other thing I think they're missing is just making things that are park wide special. If you think back to the old E-Ride nights, you had almost the entire park as part of the event. Now it's becoming very much segmented, where they're just doing segments of the park or certain events within that expanded options. So I'm not sure that they're really hitting the entire park with most of these.
Yeah, just today we saw 2 events canceled. So a lot has been changing. And I really like your point is, were they seeking out the limit? Like, how little can we offer for how much money and still make money? Well said there. Throw you a little extra one. Alicia, last point on the events. Do you expect the VIP pass? It's so stupid. The VIP pass holder events to continue or expand?
I absolutely think that they will. The sheer mania that comes from these events when the tickets go on sale is insane. Disney knows it. They know they're doing really, really well. They know that these events are selling out, and that's why we're getting the Typhoon Lagoon event. I think with this, though, I am interested to see how this affects other pass holders, because right now certain levels of passes can't do it. Like, I'm a silver pass holder, and I can't go to these events. So I wonder if it'll make people start upgrading their passes just to go, because for the, okay, I just bumped myself up a little bit more and pay $100 more, and I'm getting all of these free events, or not free events, but more fun events to go to. It kind of looks worth it. I mean, I would kind of upgrade just because the parks seem empty and their unique offerings.
Yeah, that is a great point, that you can't get them at all levels. There's a lot going on with them tiering these passes. It'll be interesting to see how that develops as well. We're going to move over to Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy at DHS. Ron, let's start outside before we head into the show itself. How does this new area look?
I was muted. I think it looks fine. I think it definitely looks like they still intend this to be some sort of flex space. They committed to a theme, but not overly committed. Everything I've seen looks like it can be repainted or repurposed in just days, if not weeks' time. But it still looks good. It doesn't look like they threw it up overnight like a temporary event. The posters, everything looks good. But it is a black box theater, and I think they definitely don't think this is a long-term solution, but I think they think it's something to add particularly some kids' interest, while everything they've added so far, announced with a date, has a height requirement on it.
Yeah, I think we get to that a little bit later on, but that is well thought out. I thought it did look a little bit temporary. Let's see what David thinks. Does this fit in with the aesthetic of the Rock and Roller Coaster?
Patrick, if you're trying to get me to say that they ruined the ambiance of Rock and Roller Coaster, I'm not going to bite.
Old school reference, David. Well done.
In all honesty, I think it fits in with the general area. I don't think it's too out of place. And honestly, in terms of the specific theming that they have there right now, to Ron's point, that it feels a little temporary. But right now, I feel like Lightning McQueen is probably their most rock and roll character that they have. So in that sense, it probably does fit in pretty well with the Rock and Roller Coaster theme as it stands now. So I don't have an issue with it. Just one point on what Ron was saying. When did Disney stop remembering that they're in Florida and that their queues need to be fully shaded and not partially shaded? It's driving me crazy.
They forgot that when Chapek took over.
Yeah,
Toy Story.
Exactly.
It's all about the dollar. Tyler, do you think this attraction could signal the beginning of the end of Aerosmith being part of Hollywood Studios?
If you're suggesting that Rock and Roller Coaster is going to get overlaid to Cars, I'm 100% on board for that. But but if that, I mean, that whole area, people are speculating that because Iron Man is overlaid on Rock and Roller Coaster elsewhere in the world, and Tower of Terror became Guardians, that this area, those two are right next to each other, could also become Marvel Land. Really don't want to see anything Marvel Land. I'd love to see that whole area go and become something completely new instead of just a lightly themed dark indoor coaster and a flex space, like he said before, that is currently Cars themed as a show, which makes no sense. So I'd be happy to see it go. I think Aerosmith has had its time there. And Alicia is shaking her head at me.
I'm gonna chain myself to that ride.
I'm upsetting everyone on every show.
Alicia, that's your pitchfork ride? That's
one of them. There's a couple, but that's one of them. That's my Hollywood Studios pitchfork ride.
I'm not saying I don't like the ride. I'm just saying it's time to make way for something else.
Are you sure?
I think they should have went with the long rumored Jonas Brothers overlay.
Oh my gosh, I did that in a Roller Coaster Tycoon video like 7 years ago.
I think 7.
That got a point.
Alicia, let's get to the show. Are you impressed with this animatronic?
So I'm a little upset with you, Patrick, because I was waiting to not watch the video of the show until we went to stage 89. So I had to spoil it for myself and I had to watch the video. However, after I looked it up, I was really happy because the animatronic is absolutely gorgeous. I'm used to looking at animation. I do it for a living. So I was watching how he had really subtle little like secondary animation movements, and that added like a nice layer and made this car actually look realistic, and it looked like it just came out of the movie. It's probably my favorite animatronic that I've seen in a while.
Wow.
I wasn't a fan of the shaman in Pandora. For some reason, I know Tyler's freaking out at me. I can see him. For me, it felt just like slightly too realistic to the point where it kind of took you out of it. I don't know. That's just me.
It's almost uncanny, right?
It just felt very uncomfortable, I guess, to watch, at least from my point of view.
Alley, yeah.
But then when I watched Lightning, I felt like I was watching someone come out of the movie, and I thought it was beautiful, and I think they did a really, really nice job.
Like the passion there and the expertise. Very well said. Ron, what does this show get right?
I think it gets the feel and the point of the movies very well. Like that, the ego is given way to teamwork and friendship. And that's what makes a racer good. And that's gone through all of the movies. I'm trying to block out what happened in the second one, but I assume there was something about teamwork and friendship in there because it's a Pixar movie, and that's all they do.
It was the Vader movie. That's what it's known as.
But it got that right. The plot was a basic plot to get a show in there, but I really think they got the heart of what is good about Cars without having to build an entire Radiator Springs to do it.
I think we would have preferred that, but I don't think you are wrong, sir. David, where can some improvements be made?
So I have 7 points, Patrick. No, that's not true. I'm just trying to get a free point.
Sure, you got it. It's the last episode. Points are just going around.
That's it. Meaningless. I think one of the things just right off the bat, I mean, they have some blending issues with the projection part of the animatronic. They'll work on that. I mean, I think this might be the first animatronic where they've actually directly blended the projection part into the physical figure. So there's still some things to do that. But that's minor. I'm really minor. My biggest issue with it was just, number one, it was so predictable. I mean, you knew what the script was going to be, 30 seconds in. And the second thing is, it's sacrilege to say it's just too much Mater anymore. Do we need him as much as he is? Nope. We could live with that. As to Ron's point about the theme, I mean, I think the message was good. I think it was just a little heavy-handed with it. just pull it back a couple of notches. You don't have to hit us over the head with the friendship thing.
Alicia, do people really care about a Chick Hicks cameo?
I don't think people care about it. I get that he's the antagonist in the first movie, but as far as I even like looked at message boards and people don't care about this character. To be fair, I don't like this character either. I think he's mean to Lightning. I think it was necessary for the show, like the story of the show, because they used it as the way to get Lightning onto the simulators. So that made sense. But the writers also had like a million other ways that they could have done this, so they didn't have to write it like that. It was funny at the end to see Miss Fritter push him off, so I enjoyed that part. But I don't think people needed this. I don't think people were asking for it.
Nobody wanted resolution from that one piston cup that Chick Hicks took. Tyler, two-parter. Are you going to stop in your next time at Hollywood Studios? And has this attraction been put in place as a people eater to try and draw some people away from Galaxy's Edge?
Number one, am I going to stop in? Yes. I also did my best not to watch the video as much as possible because I was so close to actually going and being able to see it.
Yeah.
Stage89.com. So I'm totally going to go see it. That being said, from what I know about it, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it that much. It looks like it's geared towards other folks more than me. But number two, yes, Hollywood Studios is almost nothing but people eating shows. And that's all that space was really sort of meant for, especially being a theater. It's not like they were going to dump a dark ride or some kind of like cookie cutter attraction in there, although they totally could have. Yeah, yep. It's totally meant to draw people to the opposite dead end of the park. It's just what it's totally going to be used for.
That brings to a close our first half of our first round. Taking a look at the scoreboard. 27 points for Alicia. 30 for Ron. 29 for Tyler and David with 32 points and the lead. Plenty of time for points as we move into the second segment of our first round. In the second segment of our first round, we take a tour around the Disney company because we have the keys to the kingdom. Ron, with the latest Been There Starbucks release, what makes these items so desirable?
I think it's just the detail, but the whimsy of them at the same time. There's so many little elements that are great for the like hardcore park fans that people are going to recognize, but it's going to take those hardcore fans to see a lot of that. Like the dog is not going to be the most recognizable thing to everybody, but it's there. And it brings a lot of those elements that are there without being too overwhelming as a thing. I think it's a great collage design on top of a good art style to go with them. I think they just really are a fun mug. I love the old ones with the pastel designs and the more geometric shapes, but this is to the exact opposite of that, but still gets that same heart to it. And I think that's what makes them different and desirable.
I think there's a lot of people like myself and my wife who have no problem being Disney fans when you know somebody, but there's some of us that do want to show our park spirit without having it in your face, and I think you captured it there. Tyler, you good?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Amphibia is the new show starring Brenda Song, who has been in the Disney family for a while. In addition, an acclaimed director from Gravity Falls is the creator. Is this enough to get you on board, Tyler?
It certainly means the writing might be kind of similar in terms of like the comedy. But for me, Gravity Falls captured that, and I hate using this word, childhood nostalgia that I had with sort of like
perfect, yeah,
going into the woods and kind of supernatural stuff in the real world. This is a completely new world with primarily like frog kind of characters and lizards and monsters. the art style does look awesome, and I'm sure that the writing and directing is going to be kind of similar in terms of comedy, but it's not really capturing a certain part of what I enjoy.
Yeah, I think you're kind of getting it there. I'll check it out. I'm a big fan of Brenda's song, and anything that's associated with Gravity Falls will get at least a little bit of a look from me. David, the news has broken of the Food and Wine Festival and the Festival of the Holidays getting longer and longer every year. Is there anything in this first batch, and actually since this came out, first batches of news that got you excited?
I think, Patrick, I was more excited by the rumor of DuckTales World Showcase Adventure coming than I was Food and Wine. However, a couple of things that I am excited about. Number one, we are getting ever closer to the point where there will never not be a festival going on in Epcot. So no longer have to plan trips around specific dates. You just go to Epcot and there's a festival going. But so much of what these two events, at least Food and Wine, is so much about what food there is and what the groups that are playing and what the various demonstrations are. So until we get those details, it's hard to get too excited about it. So I guess I'm excited that it's longer, but have yet to see anything that's really standing out from previous years.
Gets longer and longer every year. You're right. Soon it's just going to be all festival all the time. Alicia, go ahead, quick.
I mean, I'm just getting sick of festivals at Epcot. Like, we eat at Food and Wine, and then we eat a festival of the holidays. I'm sick of eating. Please stop at Epcot. Give me a break. My stomach needs it.
It'd be nice to just walk around and not see all the kiosks every now and then. You're right. Alicia, we're sticking with you. What do you think about the new It's a Small World merchandise that was recently released?
Disney has Small World Mania, I guess. That's the only thing that we can get from this, but it seems like every day we're getting a new form of merch for the ride. I like it to a degree. When it first came out, I thought that it was really cool, and it was really nice to see such an important attraction in Disney history get actual merchandise representation, and it looked good too. I think, unfortunately, they've gone a little bit too far now, and it's kind of getting annoying. Every day we're getting something new, like the coin purse just came out. I'd love to see them maybe take a step back from Small World now and give love to like another older attraction that was important. Pirates, Peter Pan, Space Mountain attractions that kind of mean something, and we could get merch for that. And then maybe we go and kind of take a break from Small World for right now.
I mean, what are you talking about? Pirates had that like $35 tank top that they just upgraded. David, take a trip with me over to Tokyo Disney Sea. The new gorgeous building for soaring, no apostrophe there, Fantastic Flight was unveiled recently. Should the domestic parks have changed their facades when we went soaring around the world?
Okay, so the fan in me says absolutely yes, they should have changed it. They should be changing facades like every 6 months. But the business part of me says no, that there's no way that they would afford that. But then, to be reasonable, the difference between soaring over California and soaring around the world is not significant enough to really require all that much of a theme change. Fantastic Flight is a completely new theme around this ride system, so that absolutely should have been a new facade. Now, around the world, I think it still works. I don't think they needed to go through an entire facade change at any of the locations. Not that I'm attached to the aircraft hangar, but
fair enough. Oh my God, Alicia, I left a question from last episode in there. So you get the fantastic made up on the spot question.
Ooh.
Virgin Trains USA will be coming to Central Florida. What do you think about this as a Disney fan?
I think that it's really good. It's the bullet train type deal, right? We're talking about, yeah. I lived in Florida. I grew up there. I'm a native Floridian. I think that getting around Florida is just so annoying. And having taken the bullet train when I was in Japan, it's a really nice and convenient way to travel. Not as quick as it might seem, but it does work. I think that this will help get people across from Miami all the way to Orlando. I think it's
Express, if you will.
Hmm?
I said the Fig Express.
Oh yeah. Oh, Fig will love this, won't she? It does say it'll go up to 125, so I think it'll get you there pretty quickly, under 3 hours from Miami to Orlando. So, I mean, I know where I grew up.
From Tampa.
That's to say, I grew up outside of Tampa. It took us 3 hours to drive to Orlando. So this is a pretty significant change if you live down in the Florida southern parts.
I'm not going to say I've never done 125 on the turnpike making that drive, but and I think I have the ticket to prove it.
Go to for legal advice. So if you're saying it, I imagine the statute of limitations is up.
Oh, I have the ticket to prove it.
I just feel bad for the people who expect this to be like the coolest thing ever, and then you get on it and it's not, because that's what I thought the bullet train would be like, and that's really underwhelming.
My family had that experience in Japan as well. Tyler, Casey's new hot dog is delicious looking. It's the Cuban hot diggity dog. Which of the two new attractions at Pixar Pier do you want to most experience?
Wonderful. I'd have to say that both of them are horribly themed. But I actually care a little bit more about Inside Out actually having a place in the parks in some way. I think the setting of having it inside sort of like Riley's Cortex and all the balls around seems like an interesting idea. Every Toy Story thing ever never fits thematically in any part of a park. How did we get shrunk down? And why do we care about going to Andy's backyard? Like a static Jessie made a carousel. It's very confusing.
Oh, God, they're so bad.
For every Toy Story thing is always like that. It's just, it's vague and weird. Even Bugs Land was better themed than a Toy Story Land. So I think Inside Out seems more interesting.
Yeah, I think the Inside Out does seem a little bit more interesting. Ron, last chance for points in the round before someone heads to the pit. $60 for a limited edition Haunted Mansion plush. It's the fourth in the series. What's the appeal, and is this the right price point?
They've been selling these things high. But the mansion merch just sells constantly. I mean, it's got so much merch packed into a tiny shop. I'm wearing a really comfortable Foolish Mortals hoodie at the moment. But I don't get the plushes. I don't like them, but I understand there are people, some we know that are all about plush, and they'll go to any lengths to get plush. There have been plenty of high-end, designer things like the statues, the plaque. So the high-end limited edition plush is just another thing that some people really like on a ride. A lot of people really love, and I can see specifically for this attraction doing it, but not, I can't see him coming for Space Ranger Spin having a $60 small plush. I mean, I remember what a $60 Figment plush used to be, and it was, about 3 feet tall back in the day. So it's really depends.
Back in my day, you really took the fatherhood quickly. You're now saying, oh, when I was a kid, the $60 plushes were 10 feet tall if they were an inch. That brings to a close our first round. Taking a look at the scoreboard, Ron jumps in the lead with 44 points. David, 42. Tyler or Alicia, who is going home? Who is staying? Tyler, 41 points. Alicia, 39. I am so sorry, but you are the first person voted off. Not voted. I've been watching too much Survivor. Eliminated from the last episode of Around the Hub. Any last words?
Thank you for having me on the Hub. I'm going to miss the show, but we'll see it on News Tonight. Thank you, everyone, for supporting us.
Thank you for being a part of the show. Welcome to our second round, where we'll be playing our original second round, Disney Pin Trading, where me, the host, will provide a broad statement about the Disney parks, and the panel will need to decide whether they'll buy it, agree, sell it, disagree, or trade it somewhere in between. Gonna give me 2 seconds because I am trying to pull up that image and get that nastiness out of the frame. So give me 1 second. This is when I usually have Ben. He helped me out with this last time on how to full screen it. Oh, Ben, where are you when I need
the image? It might full screen.
Is it Zoom? Nope, that wasn't it. Sorry. All right. Well, Ben's not here to help me now. If anybody has any tips on how I can get that image for us.
At the top, if you click view or right click on the image.
Yep. I'm on a Mac.
Try the green button.
I tried the green button.
Turn it off and on again.
No, I can't do. Oh, there it is. It was a green button. Oh, now I try how to get back. There we go. All right. Cool. I got it. We're good. All right. Better. Here we go. Second round. So everybody's going to get a chance to answer each question, and you'll have to buy, sell, or trade, agree, disagree, or somewhere in between. We're going to start with Ron, who is in the lead. Ron, the next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe will be a disappointment compared to what has come before it.
I'm going to trade this because I think there are people who are going to compare because I think we're going to see a focus on these lesser known characters that we've built up in phase one. I think we're going to see less, if not any, of the original Avengers. I think they're going to definitely be ones to survive Endgame, but I think they're still going to step more aside to let Captain Marvel and Ant-Man and the Guardians going forward. So I think there are going to be people who are going to be disappointed. On the other hand, they've done nothing but prove that they can make these lesser-known characters more appealing and giving them amazing movies. I mean, Captain Marvel and Black Panther, for example, have never been the A-listers. They've always been, a high-tier B characters, but they've done amazing jobs to get your average Joe interested in them, despite what online trolls are trying to make you think.
And if you came to the Wigs night over at Rex the Halls, you probably heard a lot more of my opinion on that. David, moving over to you, the next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe will be a disappointment compared to what it has come before it.
I'm going to sell it. I disagree with that statement. I think it won't be a disappointment. I think if you look at the last couple of films of the current phase, they've kind of figured out a lot of things, and how to market it, how to present it, how to make it reach a lot of people. So, I think from a box office viewpoint, yes, the first set of films are going to not reach the Endgame heights, but I don't think a lot of things are going to reach that height forever. So, box office is going to go down, but I think from a story viewpoint, I think they have enough to keep going and make it exciting and entertaining.
Honestly, I usually think a lot about box office when I give this question. I didn't think of that at all. Very well said. Tyler, your turn. Cinematic Universe, next phase. Disappointment compared to what came before it?
If we're asking about if other people are going to be disappointed, I'm going to say, trade it, because I think other people are going to start to take notice that, all these films being made so quickly and being put out, almost like one or two of them a year, it's going to start to feel a little bit old. I would like it to be disappointing because, not that I don't even go see the movies, but I just want to see other films take a little bit more precedence in terms of stuff that's in theaters rather than blockbuster after blockbuster after blockbuster. Like independent films.
Yeah, I would love to see more indie film screen time. I was a big indie fan back in the day. All right, now, David, your turn to start us off. Dumbo should be the last film Disney works with Tim Burton on. Buy, sell, or trade?
I'm going to sell it. I think Nightmare Before Christmas should have been the last Disney film Tim Burton worked on. His films have become just so one note. They he's not bringing anything new to the table with these films. It's the same type of story over and over. And Dumbo had a great economical story that he took and just bloated it out to something that was incomprehensible.
Amen. Tyler, buy, sell, or trade. Dumbo should be the last film Disney works with Tim Burton on.
I'm going to say trade. I think it depends on the movie. Like nice small movies like Big Eyes or oh my God, I totally forget what the name of that movie is. Johnny Depp, filmmaker. I forget. Ed Wood, yes. Take away a point for me for not remembering that. But like Ed Wood and Big Eyes, these are smaller films that Tim Burton does that I actually really enjoy. But these huge ones where he has giant armies and stuff's always on fire and stuff, it's just they're overblown, over budgeted films that don't need all of that. I like Tim Burton when he's at his smallest, which is a weird thing to say.
I think that's actually pretty accurate. Ron, your turn to chime in. Should Dumbo be the last film Disney works with Tim Burton on? Myself.
I'm buying that. I used to be a huge Burton fan, but I think Big Fish was his last really good film.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoyed Sweeney Todd, but I think he made some poor choices, particularly with his normal casting stable there, because I don't think they were the best choices. And I think that's where we've gotten with Burton is he's making Tim Burton movies. He's not making creative movies. He's not making movies with the story's telling. He's making movies that are going to look like his thing. And that worked when, his type of effects and his type of artistic style was somewhat unique. But I don't think it works in a CG world when anybody and any newer filmmaker can kind of mimic that style and do it to a more interesting story, which he hasn't done in a long time. So, yeah, I would like to see Disney cut ties with him, at least for a while, and kind of push him back into those, not small films, because he never really made too small films, but those, economic blockbusters where he has to stretch his dollar and his creativity a little more, and that's where he shines. And I'd like to see, some new Beetlejuice out of him again.
Let's be serious here. That Guillermo del Toro is out Tim Burtoning Tim Burton. Is the much better director, telling much better stories. So very well said there. Ron, you get an extra point because Fig agreed with you. All right, Tyler, you get to start off with the difficult one. WDWNT is making a positive impact with our weekly maintenance report. Buy, sell, or trade.
If I sell, do I get fired? I'm gonna buy it. I think that it's having an impact. It's to some people who are specific types of Disney fans. They think that it's not positive. I think that it is positive because it is about the upkeep of the parks. I notice when things are broken and when I tried to bring friends to the parks and stuff is closed, stuff's not working, effects don't work. I've seen that stuff is happening and there's no way that they would have taken notice if people weren't seeing this and talking about it so much.
Very well said, Tyler. Ron, get in there. WWNT is making a positive impact with our maintenance. Wow. Weekly maintenance report.
I'm going to buy this because there's two detractors to these articles out there that I see. Some of them are saying, Tom's ego is overblown and it's not having an impact. But part of that is they should say, people should just complain to guest relations. You don't need to have this site. Let people complain on their own. We're a site that gets an enormous amount of traffic for Disney news, and Disney knows that. So when they see a site publishing those things, yes, it's going to motivate them on that field. And on the other hand, there are people who are saying it doesn't matter. The average guest doesn't doesn't care about all these minutia and you're just wasting your time. I think that's just a horrible outlook on accepting mediocrity when, the whole motto for the Disney company, was quality will out for years, and going anything less than that and not trying to hold them to that standard is us surrendering to this kind of corporate mediocrity takeover. And so anything that fights against that is also a good impact.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. David, buy, sell, or trade, we at WDWNT are making a positive impact with the newly introduced weekly maintenance report.
So I'm going to very cautiously buy this. I agree it's having an impact. I don't want to overstate the scale of WDWNT. I mean, Ron's point is good. There are a lot of readers. We do have a good audience, but I'm not sure they're bringing it up in the boardroom at Disney corporate meetings. However, one of the aspects that it has had a positive impact is bringing up the discussion about park maintenance and just bringing some attention to the fact that it's been lacking for the last 5 plus years. So just to get people talking about it, whether they agree with the list or the maintenance report or not, they're thinking about it. And that I think is a positive impact. People should be thinking about it because it's so important to the parks themselves. The Disney brand is based on the ability to go into a park and expect super high quality and expect everything to be working and having that attention to detail. And they're losing that, and they need to get back on board.
Yeah, and I think they are bringing us up. I know why they have a $12,000 tour. I see it, Chapek. Ron, back to the top of the order. This is my favorite thing to talk about because I am super interested about this. Reflections, a Disney Lakeside community, will be poorly received. Buy, sell, or trade. You're muted again.
I'm going to trade it just because I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the concept art. I'm not a big fan of the name, but I think I get what they're going to be going for, even if the concept art didn't quite say it. They have super rustic with the cabins and the campgrounds. They have that classic, feel of somewhat of a luxurious with the lodge. And I think this is going to be the modern take on the wilderness that's going to just go one step beyond that. And I think that can work if they do it right. I'm very afraid of what they're going to do with it because I think it might tend to be generic. And if you look at the way the industry is going, that there's Disney's been putting towers in instead of these more heavily themed buildings that are supposed to look like mansions or a yacht, like an actual yacht club. But I think that is also part of an economy of scale. Is at a certain point you can't be that spread out, and you need these towers, and you want the density. And at a certain point, people paying at these exorbitant rates these deluxe resorts are going for don't want to have to walk, a quarter mile to the end of a corridor. They rather, take an elevator down, and that seems another part of it. So I think all these things are going to impact what this resort can be. I just hope they can balance it out.
I'm going to share my opinion at the end because I don't want to sway any of the panel. David, buy, sell, or trade, reflections of Disney Lakeside community will be poorly received.
I am going to buy this. Now, I'm going to trade it. I can't go that far. I mean, if they actually did make it a 65 plus resort, I would be happy with that. But I'm not sure what they're going for. So I can't tell you. I mean, they sell DVC out pretty quickly, but I have no idea.
Tyler, your turn. Reflections, a Disney Lakeside community or a Lakeside Disney community, something by a lake, will be poorly received.
I'm going to sell that because I think it'll be positively received for the people who want a resort like that. Like we've seen stuff like Coronado become more muted with its theming or its like elaborate color schemes. Like Panchitos just became like white and black in terms of like color theming. So I think something that's a little more clean and I guess modern is the word, is going to be well received with certain types of guests who just want a proper like 5-star hotel stay versus like a bunch of characters roaming around or like Stitch plastered on the wall or something. Although, by the way, a Stitch hotel, they should do that. So yeah, I think some people are going to really, really like it. And if it's going to be Vacation Club, it's not like I get to stay there anyway. So who cares?
Listen, I'm Vacation Club, and I still don't get to stay there. I have to stay at Saratoga. It's the only place I'm allowed. But I think that Tyler came closest to my point. I'm going to throw at Tyler an extra point there, is that DVC members are the Disney fans. They're the hardcore ones. And I think that they're the ones that should have Stitch plastered on the walls. I love the kind of subtle Disney nods that we're seeing in Riviera, but I worry that you're going to homogenize DVC too much. I think we should have these specialty DVC resorts, and I think that DVC members versus people who are luxury travelers are more likely to not care if they have to walk a quarter mile to their hotel room because they get a view on the savannah, of the theme park, of the electric water pageant. I think you got to really cater more to the DVC when making these DVC wings. If they popped up a few more towers and like put them on top of Hourglass Lake and were part of, Art of Animation and Pop Century, nobody would care. But for DVC, I think you got to up the Disney level. That is going to bring to a close our second round. Sorry, no time for the last two, as we have an action-packed final segment. Taking a look at the scoreboard, David has surged into the lead with 77. Yeah, 7 twice points. Ron behind him with 74. Is Tyler between Ron and David? Tyler had 71, got that bonus point at the end for 72. Not enough. Tyler, chicken nugget, headed down to the pit of despair for the last time. Any last words?
Well, you took the words out of my mouth. It was chicken nuggets. So I'm going to upgrade chicken strips.
Ooh, must have been while you were eating them. That's right. I have now quoted Meatloaf and Bare Naked Ladies on this. I just have a dearth of musical knowledge. In our face-off round, we'll be playing our original final round, and our final round, One Little Spark. Here, we ask our panelists to use their imagination to give us something in one of the Disney parks. Tonight, our last face-off will be our most epic. Panelists, use your one little spark to prepare Walt Disney World for its 50th. Nothing is off limits. Give me your absolute best version of Walt Disney World that can come about in the next 2 years. David, in the lead, you go first. Let's see what you got.
I am so tempted to not get any points here just so I could finish with 77. But I guess I'll answer your question. I think the part that gets me is the next 2 years. Disney accomplishes nothing in the next 2 years. But anyway, if I had my dream situation, I would have them build a temporary 2-year only gate that would have just all classic attractions that are no longer available. So, bring back everything that's closed today. Bring back the submarines. Bring back the original Journey to Imagination. Everything that's closed, bring it back into a single park. Charge an insane amount of money for it. People will still come, but you got to tear it down in 2 years. That would be my ultimate goal. The other thing is, let's bring back the castle cake just for fun, just to see what the reaction would be on Twitter. I think we missed that the first time since Twitter wasn't really around, but let's just see what happens. But I think in all seriousness, I would like them to pay attention to the history of the parks for the 50th and give some nods and some recognition of the things that came before and how we got where we are, rather than just making it all new stuff that is IP based.
I thought it was going to be perfect for Ron. 11 points in that round, bringing your total to 88, which if you get that fast, you'll see some serious. Ron, it is your turn to see what Disney can do for his 50th. You need 14 points to tie, 15 to win.
Well, David kind of took my idea, but not quite. I had a slightly more realistic version of paying attention to the history and being able to highlight the pasts with those attractions. And that's the Void. Have a specially created Void that could be, you don't just pay for, one mission. You could pay for a set amount of time. But when you're there, what you're paying for is a complete virtual recreation of Walt Disney World at any date in the last 50 years. And they can build a base and then have it, and have the changes. So you could pick your date you want to go. If it was the first day you were there, if it was something you wanted to see that opened on this day, you could program in, October 1st, 1983 and go, on Horizons and Journey into Imagination and see them in the really well-created VR that the Void does. I think this is a realistic goal. I mean, there's going to be a lot of programming, but it's something that they could really do that would make them a pretty decent amount of money. And that's really highlights the history while not, taking up room in the parks for those IP attractions that they really want to push. Would take up space in the Void, but there's plenty of space in downtown Disney that seems to rotate. You can move some stuff around there. But what I think is going to be more realistic is what we're going to see what Disneyland did with those, slight pluses to those opening day attractions, those golden highlights on the castle, those golden vehicles. I think Disney World's going to do something similar, but I think they're going to go one step further. I think we're going to get a lot more gold on that castle. Not a cake, but it's going to be Trump Tower gaudy with the gold that they're going to throw onto that thing. I think it's going to be insane how much they're going to highlight that golden anniversary around the parks. I'd really love to see that, that history thing even release it. Like I think the Walt Disney World Explorer came out somewhere around the 25th anniversary. Just do even something like that. In a kind of VR setting, for PlayStation VR or Oculus, that would be, something to release that's simple and, a profit-generating center as well. So that's what I'd like to see.
Oh, man. I was so excited.
I love it. Let's do it.
I was so excited that you guys were going to tie, and I was like, sweet, I have a very personal tiebreaker. But then you went on to say that they could take this experience home and having it on like the Oculus or on PlayStation VR. That last point gave Ron the victory, 15 points, 89 to 88, squeaking out the final win. I was very excited for that tiebreaker question, but well said, Ron. And you would have won it running away if you just mentioned that we are trying to do that with WDWNT VR. Still a project we're working on. Hopefully we'll see the light of day soon. I have a horse. That's very important to me. I have a horse. Occasionally I fly. Things get crazy in WDWNT VR. Don't ask. David, that means this brings to an end your Around the Hub journey. It has been amazing getting to know you over these years. Our fantastic lunch over at Be Our Guest, one of the highlights of that vacation. Any last words before you head into the pit of despair?
Patrick, I've loved every minute of this show. Excellent job. And do we have time to actually answer the tiebreaker question? We should all four get to do that.
Yeah, we have time. All right. So for one special Around the Hub bonus point, Alicia, you're back. Tyler, you're there. I have a daughter on the way. You must pitch me a Parks exclusive onesie for my little one. We'll go in reverse order of the way you were eliminated. So, Alicia, what do you got? Park exclusive onesie for Patrick Hackett's daughter on the way, July.
It's Animal Kingdom. So we see the tree of life, we see the safaris, and then there's an outline of Simba. And on the inside, it says, I'm learning to roar. And then on the back, it says Disney's Animal Kingdom. And then every year it'll update. So it'll be the year that we have a onesie for like a special year when you came.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's great. Tyler.
Figment Kigurumi, which is like a costumed pajama.
2 Canadian. Next one.
What?
Awesome.
Good, David.
All right. It's your daughter, Patrick. It's got to be a John Carter onesie, and it's got to be cost $1,200.
That's perfect. 2 points. David now wins. Ron.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Play It onesie for you.
All right. Yeah, that's good. As long as nobody said Bugatti, so you're all still on my good list. David, head into the pit of despair, and we'll see you, I don't know, soon.
Someday.
That means that Ron Deanna is the last winner of Around the Hub. Tom Corliss, of course, being the first winner. Listen, I was trying to get the show. It was just a pilot. And Ron being the final victor with Tom and Chris Straps, and probably Ron now at this point in time in the top 3 for victories. 30 seconds of an uninterrupted meet and greet belongs to you. When you hear the clock, that means you have 10 seconds left. Ron.
I'm just going to thank you, Patrick. This show has been one of my favorite things to do here. It's one of the things that got me on the air on this site when I started as a writer. And, you know, the whole experience being here has made me some incredible friends. You in particular, Patrick. It's just been a great experience. I'm going to miss this show. I know it's still going to be around for News Tonight, but hoping we can pull it out on some of the holiday shows.
I just had points repeating. Yeah. Well, for those of you who are wondering, yeah, we're still going to do Around the Hub for the marathon. And the anniversary show, depending when that one is this year, that could be a little bit tricky. But yeah, this is the end of the show as a run, 7 seasons. That means that, Ron, you are our last victor. You give us that final hub.
Hub.
Let's have a drink on it now.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my camera up. There it is. Hey, you can see the mess behind me. There is millions of things for my daughter. That's her crib. There's artwork that we don't have a place for anymore. There's various and sundry pops. This is why I wasn't able to do a live show. It was a little bit unprofessional. But I'm going to imagine that Ben or Nathan will clip this off. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for being a part of this show. I have loved doing it, and I am not leaving WDWNT. Sure, in the first few months after baby Cecilia is born, I will probably be a little less here, but I'm still going to be on News Tonight. I'm still going to be writing. You're still going to find my voice, even though I put 10 layers of production on that Swigexka commercial, and I thought nobody would be able to know it was me, but you still knew it was me, so I appreciate that. I just want to say that through this show, I have made some of the absolute best friends, Ron and Laurel in particular, but also Taylor and Tom. These are people who mean the world to me, and you fans also. If you ever see me in the parks, please don't ever be shy to stop and say hi. Sadly, I will not be at Stage 89. It just didn't work out. But I'll be going down in October. I'm sure I'll tell everybody when that is. And if you see me, feel free to say hi. Thank you for always supporting the network. Thank you for those of you who are patrons. That's amazing. It's so greatly appreciated. I just can't believe that this show that I was afraid every week I was going to get fired from made it this far. That was the wrong show to worry I was going to get fired from, huh? Anyway, moving on from that, again, thank you. I'll still be here. And I mean, really, I've never said it at the end of the show. I get to give you that final hub. So for the last time as a standalone show until the special occasions, I'm Patrick Hackett, and this has been Up